Hello, and welcome to Data Planet, the show where we talk with industry leaders about the triumphs and challenges of growing a business and the role data plays along the way. I'm Emma Davis, and today's guest is Dave Estey, Director of Operations at Wikimotive. Welcome, Dave.
Morning.
Good morning. So, to start with, what do you do? Who are your customers?
So, I would describe Wikimotive as a boutique marketing agency focused on the automotive dealer vertical. And if that makes you cringe a little bit, I'll add another layer and I'll say that we focus specifically on search engine optimization, which is
Mm,
not a typical play in the automotive industry. Lots of focus on SEM and PPC. The boutique is our approach to how we treat our clients. So we consider ourselves to be a white glove service. So a lot of it is just making sure that the quality of our discussions with our clients is helpful. That we're always looking for ways that we can help them even outside of what our scope is,
mm,
and we become more than a vendor and more of a partner slash advisor slash consultant.
mhm.
So it's a little bit of a different take on what a lot of agencies have attempted to do, especially within this vertical.
Yeah, nice. And so the agency that I co-run, we are industry agnostic. So we get that question a lot. Like, do you specialize in any one industry? What are the benefits to
Sure.
being specialized in the automotive dealership market?
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of it is tech stack.
Okay.
If you are trying to deal um, with an auto dealer who has inventory feeds or all the various platforms that they use, if you're not really plugged into those things, it can turn into a slog. Like
Mm,
it can become essentially a non-deliverable just because the amount of time that you'll spend cleaning up data feeds and inventory and actually working on these different platforms, some of which are antiquated.
mhm.
Um, you can get bogged down to the point where you're not actually delivering any value. Or if you are delivering value, you certainly have no margin left at the end of it.
Mm,
So you can succeed yourself completely out of business. Um, in other ways, specialization, I don't think in terms of SEO is actually that important. Um, SEO is SEO, and if you understand the groundwork that it takes, and if you understand the different mechanisms of how search engines operate, I don't think there's something specific to especially auto dealers that would say like this person is an automotive SEO specialist. It's
mm.
mostly the things that operate in the other parts of the business where the specialization really matters.
Got it. And so are you in conversation with your clients talking with them about, you know, specific results? And are they asking the question of, is this worth it? How do I know what value I'm getting from this? Is that a question that
Mhm.
you're answering?
That is a really big part of it.
Mm,
Um, there can be, especially with digital marketing, you've probably run into this yourself. Is like you deal with clients who are coming to you having had bad relationships with previous agencies,
mhm.
and that leads to a lot of trust issues. And how do you repair that in a really meaningful way where they don't feel like they're just being sold another line of garbage? Like you've come up with another hackneyed graph that goes up and to the right.
Yeah.
Um, so being able to more specifically um, talk about, what does the funnel look like? What does transactional intent look like? What are the actions that you're actually taking to meet these goals? And how do you advertise how you've taken those moves versus just saying we did it?
Mhm.
Um,
Don't worry
so
about it.
so
We're
there's
doing
a lot
stuff.
of yeah. There's
Yeah.
so a lot of it is actually show me.
Mm,
Don't just tell me you did the thing, but show me that you did the thing. Show me how you did the thing. Talk to me about it. Like what
mhm,
went into this? I'd like to know.
mhm,
Um, and if you have a client who's looking to engage at that level, you quickly turn into some really incredible conversations and relationships. So we've had some clients for over a decade just
mhm,
because they've figured out like no, these guys are the real deal. We're gonna have some real conversations. Like I can tie these things directly to my bottom line, and I can see where their success is.
mhm. Nice. Yeah, and so you touched on this a little bit, but you and I are
Hmm.
both members of the League of Digital Marketers who are skeptical of other digital marketers. Um, what are some red flags for you? So when you talk to other digital marketers, what are the things that give you pause and raise that red flag for you that like I don't know that you're the kind of person that I would recommend or the kind of person or the kind of organization that I would want to work with.
Sure. My first big warning sign is anybody that says, "Well, just handle it all for you."
Mm,
I think good marketing, good digital marketing requires a two-way conversation where both sides are committed to the same goal and working together towards it. So any agency that says you can just be hands off and I'm just going to handle this thing for you, what that probably means is that you're not actually getting everything that they could be doing if you were really involved and bought into the process or
mhm,
helping steer it or providing insights that are specific to your business that
mhm,
they might not have. Like we specialize in one vertical and still our clients have specific needs and pressures as individuals that we have to be aware of and working towards solving. It's not a one one size fits all solution, and it can't be. And
mhm,
anybody who would try to sell that to somebody, it's like you're just selling me a bad T-shirt. That's
mhm,
not what I wanted.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I that's not one that comes to mind for me readily, but that does make a
Mm,
lot of sense, and in conversation with our clients or our prospects, a lot of times the problem that they're trying to solve initially is, "I have a lot of work on my plate, and I'm looking to offload that work." And it's like, "Okay, there's still gonna be some work required. It's just gonna be different, like, we'll take over some of
sure.
that, but we're still gonna, need to work with you on this." Um, so that's that's an interesting one that I hadn't really thought of before. Um, it
What's one of your red flags?
One of my red flags, and I think this comes up less talking to other marketers and more talking to people who are working with questionable marketers, is if I ask them, "Well, what are they driving for you? What are you
Mm,
getting from that relationship?" And they usually are either not sure. They're entirely like, "Huh, that's not something I've even thought about." There's this, like, assumption that, I don't know, I'm
sure.
supposed to be doing marketing, so they're doing marketing for me? Like, there's clearly not even a question or a discussion about, "Here's the result of this, and here's our strategy, and here's what we can expect to see, and how we'll know if this is working." Um,
Hmm.
I would say the other option that I hear a lot is, I mean, I've seen an increase in my followers on social media, or I've seen an increase in traffic to my website, and it's like, cool. Um,
Wow.
what was what was that worth to you?
It's like, wow, we're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, those are usually instances where it's possible the person I'm talking to hasn't asked questions, or has it's
Hmm.
possible the whoever they're working with has tried to have a conversation with them about value, and they just have too much on their plate, or no, that's not really my department. So I don't immediately say, well, whoever you're working with is garbage and you should fire them immediately, but I do have the like, that sounds concerning to me. um, it's definitely reasonable for you to ask them, what are you doing for me as a business? How is this impacting my bottom line? And how can you prove that to me or show me what the results are of this? Um,
Sure.
yeah.
I,
And
I
I've seen
think
that in
we definitely run into that as well.
mhm,
Um, and typically it's paired with the client taking advantage of a service that's tied in with something
mm,
else and at a lower budget level.
mm,
And it's just not enough money where they make it a focus to understand what they're getting from it. So it
mhm,
turns into just a monthly invoice that goes out the door.
and just flying under the
And
radar.
then just flying under the radar. And it's a
Mhm,
super sneaky way, especially for website platforms, to say, look, we're just going to tack on this additional thing. We'll just do this for you, and it's only $700 a month.
mm,
And you get a couple years down the road, and you realize, oh, I never asked them what they were doing or how it was benefiting me,
mhm.
and I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in a really sneaky way, and now that I'm asking questions about it, I'm getting a lot of shrugs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that happens a lot, not necessarily in a nefarious way also. I think
Mhm. Sure.
there's also a decent number of people or businesses who are spending some amount of money on marketing efforts because they feel like maybe this is working and I'm afraid to stop because what if it's working? But then they're also afraid to expand or, invest more because, well, what if it's not working? And they wind up in this weird
Yeah.
years long limbo of just slowly paying what they can tolerate paying without knowing what the upside actually is. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that it's painful then when you look back historically and you're like, yeah, that really did add up, and I don't know for what. I don't know what that
Sure.
got me. Um,
Yeah, we actually, I'll just flat out say it. We do see it in nefarious ways. So we see providers, especially in the SEM space, who will be bidding on terms and keywords that drive low value but high traffic, so that they'll point to traffic that doesn't transact,
mhm,
or they'll be bidding on keywords that the client would naturally already be getting the traffic from, like branded terms.
mhm,
So they're artificially increasing traffic numbers and getting like, wow, this click through rate looks incredible. What does this ad copy look like? And it turns out like it's your business's name,
mhm,
and people were already familiar with your business and looking to do business with you. Now they've just clicked the thing and cost you additional money to take an action that they were already going to take.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's such a, I don't think this is a widespread thing, but it is a snaky thing that
mhm,
like we run into fairly often. It's like, come on, guys, we can all do better than this.
yeah, yeah. One thing I'll say in defense of brand traffic and paid
Sure.
is there is incremental value to bidding on your own brand term in instances where your competitors are also bidding on your brand term.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
taking up real estate and being the first result people see when they're looking for you adds a lot of credibility. So if people are, know you by name and they're looking for you, but you don't show up. But these other people do show up and they seem to be offering a similar thing, like, that does um there is real value there, but it's not the same as non-brand traffic. It's not demand generation or capturing people high enough up in the funnel that you can say, "Aha, without this there, that person wouldn't have converted." It's a more nuanced
Hmm.
it's similar to if you're running a remarketing campaign. It's like that isn't getting you net new traffic, that's increasing your conversion rate, and you have to price that appropriately and make sure that you aren't just spending money because, oh, here's another way that I can
Um,
spend money and engage an audience that's relevant. Like, okay, but Are you
Mhm.
doing it in a way that where the cost and benefits uh, map out properly and balance out
Yeah.
properly?
And
Um,
a real partner, I think, will call out these different methods and break them into different cohorts rather than lumping them all together and saying, like, look, number go up, good.
yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
you'll say like, here are the actions I've taken based on this specific goal.
Hmm.
Here's what we've accomplished for this. Here's the actions I've taken on this other specific goal.
Hmm.
Here's the things that we've done for you based on this. And I think some groups get a little bit afraid of getting too in the weeds with a client and not having like if I give them too much data, they just glaze over. And so they try to simplify it to the point where really it's not showing the true story. And in some cases, also they can be shortchanging themselves. Like they might be doing a really good job, but the reporting isn't really bearing it out. And then how does the client feel about it later on? How easy
Hmm.
is it for, one of their friends to see that report and start picking it apart and start saying like, "No, this is dumb. This you shouldn't be doing this. This is an absolute waste of money," just
Hmm.
because you've simplified it to the point where you've killed some of the value of your relationship with that client.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they have their digital marketing friend and they say, here's my, I got this report from my agency. Can you, and, you know, then I would be the person saying, they're not reporting to you nearly enough. You don't have enough insight into what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't want to harp on only the negatives. What are some green flags? What are some green flags in digital
Ooh, green
marketing?
flags. Um, I love an agency that looks to teach first.
Mm,
I think that's a really important thing. If you look at the effort that an agency puts into um, educating or answering the questions that people frequently have, or talking about the stumbling blocks that they come upon, I think that lends a lot of credence.
mm,
Um, like big green flag there. It's like, hey, everybody, you're not even our client, but you should know about this thing.
mm,
And here's what's going on. We recently had a platform that allowed security for non www URLs to lapse. So everybody who just typed in whatever dealership.com was getting a big warning sign, and they weren't saying anything about it. Like anybody who is like actively looking out for more than just their book of clients,
mm,
that says like this is the person who, number one, is passionate, they're paying attention, they're plugged in. Number two, when they see things that are going wrong, they want people to know so they can help themselves.
mhm.
And number three, it doesn't cost anything. There's no paywall. They're not saying like you have to take these actions to get this little nugget that could save your business.
Mhm,
um those are all things that tell me like that's a group that's looking to do it right.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I'm always happy to see marketers willing to talk with people about how to grow their business, like, or referring business without it being like, but I get revenue from referring this
Sure.
this partner to, just like, I think this is going to help you. I think they're going to benefit from this. This is a good match. Um, as well as, I think one of the things that our clients really appreciate from us is when we make a recommendation that's worse for us. If we're talking about like you need to cut your
Mm,
budget, you need to reduce your spend or whatever, that might mean our fees are lower, but if that's the better thing for their business, then that's what we need to recommend. And so um having a marketer who is skeptical, who acknowledges that there's nuance to this world that we operate in, and doing it well is not a matter of always finding the truth, but it is a matter of always pursuing the truth and always
mm,
questioning, um, what can we know, and how do we figure that out, and what's next, and Just really keeping an eye on the big picture and the bottom line for the client along the way so that they don't go out of business just trying to market well. Good marketing has to
Yeah.
operate within the business. So, all right.
Yeah, if so I do a lot of, sentiment analysis and looking through call transcripts, just to see the things that are coming up and the pain points that the dealerships are coming up, and sometimes, another vendor is on there. And anytime I see something come up where that vendor is saying, "I think we have some wasted spend here that we can redistribute somewhere else," it's like, "All right, pause. I'm gonna read more about what this person is saying. Like,
Yeah.
that's a legitimate statement. Tell
Hmm.
me more."
Yeah. 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 All right. Well, let's call that the final data point for this episode. If people want to learn more about Dave and Wikimotive, information will be in the show notes. Otherwise, thank you so much, Dave, for joining us on Data Planet. And to the audience, take what helps, test boldly, and keep going. Thanks so much.